Today, want Overwatch 2 but don't trust free-to-play? Game stores have the solution for you. This is CheckPoint. Welcome to CheckPoint. This week we've got stories about Overwatch 2 and the Silent Hill series.
We're also going to do some patch notes again and...
What?
Sorry, is this just a rerun of last week's news?
That's essentially video game news in a nutshell.
We are all no doubt aware by now, Overwatch 1 is dead. The game perished when its servers did on October 4th, 2022. But it still lives on in our hearts, and on the shelves of select retailers who still have it available for the extremely not discounted price of $34. Now, before you get too mad, if someone accidentally buys a copy of Overwatch, the game will still work technically, because when you launch it, it will just become Overwatch 2, which is free to play. But, if you buy this version, you're going to get 15 legendary skins, which should work theoretically in Overwatch 2, but it might not because there's a bug. But, most important of all, you'll be helping out this store's inventory team, since then they won't need to discount the game to $5.99 before they put it into the store's stocking stuffer display in December. So that's wins all around. Unless you liked Overwatch 1.
All right, okay, this is the big one. This week, I get to do the patch notes segment. Yeah, and we're gonna do Mario+Rabbids Sparks of Hope, so dig it. First up, they fixed an issue where heroes could get stuck in a wall while in the tunnel under Woodrow's house. Easy fix for that, just take the walls out of that tunnel. What's it gonna do, cave in? Also, they fixed an issue where NPCs wouldn't always stop moving when the heroes were nearby. Because those NPCs always got something to do, am I right? Times are tough. Okay, they fixed an issue where heroes could get stuck behind a tree and some rocks next to the teleportation flag near the volcano entrance on Terra Flora. Well, who put that tree there? Donkey Kong? Ha! Got him! They also fixed an issue where heroes could get stuck and go out of bounds next to a dark mess puddle. Wait, isn't that the same as the other ones? Paul, can scroll through the notes a bit more. I want to check something. Could get stuck, could get stuck, could get stuck and go out of bounds. Shit, this game is something. Oh, okay, here's one. The team fixed an issue where you would hear continuous sound effects of Rabbids laughing after exiting the second cave on Pristine Peaks. Okay, that's low-key an SCP entry. Fixed an issue where if a lone wolf was attacked with a fire super effect and survived, it would continue to make noise for longer than intended. Jesus Christ, I didn't expect this game was the Dark Souls of XCOM. Paul, can I swap cartridges? Okay, patch notes version 2.0. This week, we look at Splatoon 3, which just got an update to 1.2.0. Let's see what they fixed. Made improvements to data transfer between players. On average, data will be transferred about 0.05 seconds more quickly than before. Well, you can't say Nintendo isn't figuring out this online thing. Fixed an issue with photo mode, where the image shown as a preview and the photo actually saved to the album would differ greatly when shooting at certain camera angles. Which I don't think is an actual bug, but more a comment on how my real-life selfies always looked like shit. Fixed an issue with the blob lobber, where some of the blobs would not be lobbed. Stop. Print it. A perfect patch note. A weapon with a silly name that describes its actions is unable to perform the actions in its own name. Ha! Another successful patch note segment.
You know the opening scene of Silent Hill 2, right? There's a bit where the extremely well-adjusted main character, James Sunderland, looks into the mirror, right? Or is he? Because according to a popular 2020 post on the Gaming Detail subreddit, James isn't looking at himself in the mirror. He's looking at the camera, and therefore maybe at you, the player. What an Easter egg! But what does it really mean? Well, good news, we finally know the truth. According to Silent Hill artist Masahiro Ito, I am so fed up with this. Earlier this week, he tweeted, "So many people have asked me, but it's headcanon. James doesn't look at the player." He then added, "In the first place, why does he have to see the player who exists out of the story? He's now there looking for his wife. Consider the context of the story." And while I may have interpreted his body language and delivery, I feel like I did a good job there and I captured what he was really saying. So I want to say I'm very sorry, Ito-san. People did look at the context of the story, but since there wasn't anything in there where James was in defeat and vor, they just inserted it themselves. Death of the author and all that.
It's Mortal Kombat's 30th anniversary, and to celebrate... Okay, look, I'm not falling into his obvious trap we foreshadowed in the intro. Instead, we're going to talk about the opposite of Mortal Kombat. Garfield just keeps eyeing up Nintendo's greatest hits, and fresh off the success of 2013's Garfield Kart, a kart racer that answers the question, what if E.T. had wheels? Paws Inc. is probably proud to present Garfield Lasagna Party. It's like a dinner party where the disaster is already baked in. GLP supports up to 4 players locally, and you have your choice of up to 4 characters. Garfield, Odie, Arlene, and Nermal. No word on whether any Garfield evolutions like Super Garfield or Gear 3 Nermal will make it into the lineup after release, or if you'll have to rely upon buying fighter packs. There are over 30 minigames too, or exactly 32 minigames, including several different themes such as Collect the Lasagna, or Hold on to the Lasagna, or, and I'm just assuming here, Eat the Lasagna. The devs haven't released any details about that lasagna eating game, but I'm feeling pretty confident it's in the Big 32. The games all take place in different iconic environments such as John's house, which I'm assuming is a different color on each wall, and surrounded by enough chest-high countertops to close out an IKEA kitchen showroom. Or Dr. Liz's vet clinic, full of mysterious coffee mugs from which you must never drink. Or hopefully, that fucking hell dimension from the Halloween special. Or Christmas special? Look, they all kind of ran together for me in my youth. We didn't have Netflix. Anyway, it's Garfield. He's got all his friends around, and they're gonna have a lasagna party. Do not ask your parents what that meant in the 70s.
Hey, Beige. Do you know who else, aside from us, lives in an endless purgatory doing the same things over and over again?
No, Kathleen, who?
Garfield!
Wow!
Yeah, we're human Garfields.
Wow!
Yeah.
Who's the human Nermal?
Ooh. Coming up, in literary news, Kirby's Dream Buffet is becoming a book. And if you ask, why not Kirby in the Forgotten Land? Too late, because it's also a book. Kirby's always been a book. Maybe you're reading Kirby right now.
Not a bad week for news. Overall.
Yeah, there's some more exciting or
controversial,
perhaps newsworthy is the best way to describe them, things I didn't write about this week. You
didn't want to report on Activision Blizzard's chief communications officer disparaging unions in the company-wide Slack?
No.
Yeah, I didn't want to really do a story on that either.
I was just because it would be so long and it would be yet more of the same.
Yeah, it's weird, right? And yet we just did an entire episode that was repeating the stories we did last week.
I know. I mean, at one point, we have to think, these people are so comically evil. They're actually helping us because now we don't have to find so many stories every week. There's always something they've done.
There's a level of ineptitude that is... I don't understand, because I'm like, at this point, somebody should have gotten a memo at Activision Blizzard being like, hey, no matter what you do, don't say a goddamn word about unions anywhere. On the Slack, private emails, anything. Shut up about unions. If we're going to talk about it, we're going to talk about it in person, like in the backseat of a car under a blanket. That's the only place that we get to talk about unions now. Because otherwise, we're going to court again.
Yeah. Although, in a way, I did find a way to report on some ineptitude coming from Activision Blizzard because, of course, the launch of Overwatch 2 has not gone very smoothly, and I can't imagine why.
No.
When all your employees are demoralized and extremely angry at you because you keep throwing them repeatedly under the bus.
Yeah, funny that. the retail thing is really funny to me because like having worked retail for a while, I know that I used to have like people would come in the store, sell Apple stuff. I didn't work at an Apple store, I worked at a university bookstore and we sold Apple stuff. And so you'd have people come in and they'd look at like a cable that's on the shelf for $50. This happened to me one time where it's like, here's a Thunderbolt cable. It's a meter long. It's $50. I'm like, okay. And then like a new Thunderbolt cable came out that was 2 meters long and it was $50. And so I'd have people, they'd say to me, it's like, well, why don't you just like, I don't get it. The other one is the same. It's the same price, but it's a different length. Why don't you just like, you should be marking that one down. I said, thank you for your feedback. And they're like, don't you understand? Like, this is a bad value proposition. Like, you're not gonna sell this thing. You're not gonna do whatever. I'm like, yes, I understand. And it's so baked into the Apple has price maintenance where they say, this is the MSRP of the thing. You cannot cut this by more than a certain amount. And to ensure that you can't, we're gonna sell this to you off the top. And the only way that you can get your money back for this is you have to send it back to us within a certain period of time, like a year or 2 years or whatever. And if you do that, if you send them that cable back being like, nobody's buying this cable, they're like, yeah, we understand that. No problem. We'll give you your like $45 back or whatever that you had to pay for that cable in the first place to get into your store. It's unusual, but it also means that everywhere you go, everything's the same price. So you don't have to think about, well, am I getting a better deal here or cross shopping or whatever? And it's supposed to free you up from having to think about that stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yeah, retailers having Overwatch 1 on the shelves for like $34 or whatever they're going to have it on the shelf for. It's like, sometimes they don't have that much choice in, am I allowed to lower the price of this thing yet? And it's like, no, you have to keep it at that level because we paid so much for it.
Right.
We can't discount it yet.
Yeah, and Activision Blizzard has not reached out to any retailers to be like, hey, this game is discontinued. We need to,
Yeah, you can now clear it out. Yeah.
Or please send us back all the copies that you have if they're in a buyback program or something like that, and just like expedite just that SKU. I'm sure someone has the ability to think of that. Or maybe because their entire management culture was so rotten and terrible, maybe the kind of people who were in charge of that never told anybody and just kept all that information to themselves, in addition to being really terrible for other reasons.
Sure.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe they just had really awful...
Could be a multitude of reasons why these things happen.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm never getting a job at Blizzard, Activision.
You weren't really looking, were you?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Did you see that, like, it came up online, it was like somebody being like, if somebody wants to send me something, they can, or if some software vendor wants to talk to me about like security or something like that, I accept no cold calls. What I will do is I will send them an open table link with a for my favorite steakhouse.
Yeah, and then we'll see how serious you cybersecurity guys really are.
Yes,
yeah.
That was exactly it. So I feel like if Activision Blizzard wants to hire me, here's my you can send me a thing that says you made a $10,000 donation to the National Labor Relations Council.
Oh, yeah.
We'll talk.
Yeah, good start.